hitting a...
Attention, all Folketeers. Welcome to Folk and Beyond. Good evening, Folketeers, and welcome to Folk and Beyond. And with me in the studio tonight, I have Mr. Bob Bignell. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob. There we are. Bob's going to be talking about his early influences and how he got into folk music in the first place. But until that time, we shall be listening to Sheep Crook and Black Dog by Steel Eye Span.
Sheep crook and my black dog, I give it to you. Here's my bag and my budget, I bid it adieu. Here's my sheep crook and my black dog, I leave my sheep croak and my blackthorn, I give it to you. Here's my bag and my budget, I bid it to you. Here's my sheep croak and my blackthorn, I leave them behind. Fine laurel, fine floral, you fruit all on a crown.
Steel Eye Span there, from the album Below the Salt, released in 1973. That was the fourth album Steel Eye Span released, and that song was taken from the singing of Caroline Hughes of Dorset, a Romany Queen. Well, there we are, recorded in a caravan in 1963 by Ewan MacColl. Great man. Right, the next track is Whiskey in the Jar by Thin Lizzy, released in 1972. Thin Lizzy there with Whiskey in the Jar. Everybody knows that one. It's a good old-fashioned Irish traditional song. Apparently it's a song about a notorious highwayman called Patrick Fleming, who was hanged in 1650. Ooh,
10 to 7.
That was Fairfield Convention, a favourite band of mine, playing Rising for the Moon, released way back in 1975. Actually the 10th album they'd released by then, and written by Sandy Denny. And the most famous track on the album is White Dress, but everybody does that one, so we're not going to bother. 10 to 5, eh, Bob?
Actually, it was 10 to 5, not 10 to 7. My watch has stopped.
Well, doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
Indeed it does.
More from Bob later.
think I see my friends coming, riding many a mile. Friends, you get some silver, you get a little gold. What did you bring me, my dear friends? Keep me from the gallows pole. What did you bring me? Keep me from the gallows pole. I couldn't get no silver, I couldn't get no gold. You know the way I'm too damn poor from the gallows pole. Hangman, hangman, hold it a little while. I think I see my brother coming, riding many a mile. Brother, you give me some silver as you get a little gold. What did you bring me, my brother? Keep me from the gallows pole. Brother, I brought you some silver, yeah. I brought a little gold. I brought a little of everything. Keep me from the gallows pole. Yes, I've told you to keep me from the gallows pole. Hangman, hangman, turn your head a while. I think I see my sister coming, riding many a mile, my. Sister, I implore you, take him by the hand, take him to some shady power, save me from the wrath of this man. Please take him, save me from the wrath of this man. Hangman, hangman, upon your face a smile. Tell me that I'm free to ride for many a mile. Oh yes, you got a fine sister. She want my blood to gold. She want my blood to boil it hot. Keep me from the gallows. Yeah. Early gold and silver. And your sister want my soul. But now I laugh for so hard. See her swinging on the gallows. Oh yeah. But now I laugh for so hard. See her swinging on the gallows. Swinging on the gallows pole. Swinging on the gallows pole. Swinging on the gallows pole. Swinging on the gallows
Classic Led Zeppelin there, classic. Led Zeppelin 3 album was the album, and it was released back in 1970. Okay, that's an updated arrangement of a traditional folk song called The Maid Freed from the Gallows, from the Child Ballads, number 95. Did you know that one, Bob?
It was after I was born.
Yes?
Yes.
I should think it was after you were born, yes. But not before your time.
No,
There we are, then.
One thing you never say about me is I'm not before my time.
Never mind, moving swiftly on.
From Liverpool to Frisco a-roving I went, for to stay in that country was my good intent. But drinking strong whiskey like other damn fools, I was very soon shanghaied back to Liverpool singing roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. I shipped in the Alaska, lying out in the bay. We was waiting for the fair wind to get underway. The sailors on board, they was all sick and sore. They'd drunk all their whiskey and could get no more singing roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. One night off Cape Horn I will never forget, and it's oh but a sigh when I think of it yet. We was going bows under, the sails was all wet. We was running 12 knots with the mainskysail set singing roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Well, along comes the mate in his jacket of blue. He's looking for work for the matlows to do. And it's up topsail halyards he loudly does roar, and lay aloft, Paddy, you son of a hosing in roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Well, now we are sailing down onto the line. When I think of it now, oh, we had a hard time. The sailors box hauling them yards all around to catch that flash clipper, the back of McGowan and roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Well, now we've arrived back in Bramley Moor Dock, and all the flash duties to the pier do flock. Our barrels run dry, and me 6 quid advance, and I think it's high time for to get up and dancing in roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Here's a health to our captain, wherever he may be. He's a devil on land and a bucko at sea. But as for that first mate, that lousy old brute, we hope when he dies, straight to hell he'll sky you singing roll. Roll, bullies, roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Woo!
A cracking track there by a cracking band. That's the Spinners with Liverpool Duties, which I believe is a song about waiting for tugboats to take them into Liverpool docks, but I could be wrong. And that was recorded live in 1966. There are traditional versions of it by Ewan MacColl, and the Black Country Xtra, the Raven Brothers, from Wolverhampton no less, and they called it Row Bullies Row. Have you heard of that one, Bob?
I most certainly have. I actually saw the Spinners live at Town Hall a couple of times back in the 60s.
Oh, I bet that was great.
It was really good night, good singing, sing-along stuff, and back in the good old days when you used to sit in your seat to watch people.
Oh my goodness, that was a while back, wasn't it?
Instead of doing the mosh pit down at the front.
I've always enjoyed a good mosh every now and then. But I remember seeing the Spinners on television when I were a lad. And I remember being particularly impressed by the bass player. I didn't even know what a bass player was in those days. And,
I don't think you do even to this day, do you,
Derry? Thank you
Derry?
for that vote of confidence there, Bob. Moving swiftly on.
This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time begun. I may sail on many a sea, her shores will always be home to me. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sun. As morning breaks the heaven on high, I lift my heavy load to the sky. Sun comes down with a burning glow, mingles my sweat with the earth below. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sun. I see woman on bended knee, cutting cane for her family. I see man at the water's side, casting nets at the surging tide. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sun. I hope the day will never come that I can't awake to the sound of drum. Never let me miss carnival with calypso songs philosophical. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sun.
Island in the Sun, Harry Belafonte and Irvin Berge, looks like. I nearly said Budgie, but it's not. And that's off the album Belafonte Sings of the Caribbean. Not songs of, but sings of the Caribbean. Way back in 1957 that was released. And it featured in the film Island in the Sun. There you are. What a great title for a film and a song. I bet you'll be whistling that all the way home, won't you, Bob?
Probably not.
No,
No,
I thought not.
I'm more a Jay-Z fan myself.
Yeah, I could tell by your trousers.
More of a rapper.
Yeah, I could see, yes. If I had a rapper, I think I'd choose a better one than that.
I was going to say, the sea is silent, but you can't do that.
We won't go any further with that one. But nevertheless, the reason I chose that one to put on the playlist was that, of course, the Spinners made it famous as well, didn't they? They must have played it when you were there in Birmingham.
Yeah, almost certainly, I'm sure they did, yes. I probably even remember it first time around. I was a teenager when that first came out with Harry Belafonte.
Well, my quest for this show, obviously, is to try and find a song that was before Bob's time.
Well, probably the original version of the child ballads would probably help you.
Yeah, I'm not sure our listeners would understand Latin, but there we are. Here's the next tune.
Take 11. Yeah. Probably a good thing.
You ready? Right, let's make this the one.
Ah, the Seekers there with I'll Never Find Another You. Now, that was released in 1964 and again in 1968, I believe. The Seekers, what a great band. Not the new Seekers, who were equally a great band, but the original Seekers. Do you remember the Seekers, Bob?
I remember both versions of the Seekers as well. I also remember a version of I'll Never Find Another You by the Yorkshire Shepherdess.
Really? Was that
No.
somebody you met on holiday?
No, I just made it up.
I thought it might have been, yes. Anyway, my guest in the studio this evening is Mr. Bob Bignell, a legend in his own lunchtime. And what he doesn't know about folk music, he's forgotten already.
Exactly.
So, I'm just going to ask you the usual things, Bob. Like,
Not guilty is the answer to the first question.
The accused, yes. I'm going to say, how did you get into folk music?
Oh, it's a bit difficult, really speaking. Not down the usual channels. I was once told by a lady, oh, we all got into folk music at university, didn't we? No, I didn't. I was not at university. I was probably in my 30s before I became involved. When I moved into the house I'm in at the moment and got drunk in the local pub with a guy who was looking at folk music, and we ended up the night that I'd got his guitar and he'd got my banjo. And
is that legal in this country?
Probably not now.
But then back then it might have been
consenting
allowed.
adults, I think,
indeed,
was the thing.
indeed.
Yeah.
So, who was the first real folk band that you saw? I think you intimated to this earlier on.
Yes, the first real folk band I ever saw live were the Dubliners. And that happened, I was very much into jazz and big band jazz and traditional jazz and that sort of thing. And I went to work at a surveying company in Moseley. And there was a guy I became very, very friendly with. He was a bit of a rebel, an Irishman. And he said, there's absolutely no way that you can miss seeing the Dubliners. I'd never heard of them.
No,
But went to see them at Town Hall and was probably, along with my wife, we were probably the only two English people in an audience of way over 1,000 that night.
Oh, well, things have changed. They became very popular once they've been on top of the pops, didn't they?
They did, yes. They did indeed.
That sort of lifted the genre of folk music, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Although, to be honest, having listened to the first part of your programme, I realised that probably I was influenced by folk music a lot earlier than I realised I had been.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of people, without even realising it, have listened to folk music.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the early, they call them pop bands, but back in the 60s and all that, they would have been influenced by blues, pop music, and the folk music rather.
And the jazz people from the earlier ages, from traditional jazz back in America and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Stones were obviously influenced by so many people from the rhythm and blues.
Oh, that was a very thin cover, wasn't it? They were trying to reproduce things as faithful as possible.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, so that was the first real folk band you saw. Why, I know myself that you are an outstanding musician, a Dion of folk music these days. So, what are you laughing at? He's laughing at me now anyway. So what I was going to ask you next is, what was the first folk band that you ever joined?
Well, as I say, back in 71, when I had played prior to that, I was in a 60s cover band in the 60s. Not like now, we were actually playing the songs that were being recorded at that time around the local pubs and that sort of thing. And but then I moved into a house we're in now, back in 1971, bumped into a dearly departed friend, young Terry Smalley, and after that first drunken night that we spent with
the first of seven, no doubt.
First of 700 probably, and then he said he was at night school with a couple of guys. Would I like to join their band? And I said I haven't got a guitar, and he said, you've got my guitar, and I'm playing banjo these days, and we joined a band called Gin. Which has got nothing to do with spirits. It was GHIN, which is a witch or weird thing.
Oh, a bit of mystical connections going on.
Yeah, and we played around a bit, not much, and discovered the Cherry Trees Motel out at Studley.
The famous Cherry Trees.
The famous Cherry Trees Motel out at Studley, and played there, doing our bits of support and that sort of thing.
So more or less a residential, I suppose.
No, I don't think you call us residential, other than that we did squat a little, probably.
Back in the day.
And then from that broke up within about 12 months, and the legendary Ragtag and Bobtail were formed and went on to perform for a good 10, 15 years after that.
Marvellous stuff. And there have been other bands since then, but we will cover that in a minute.
I've no doubt.
Because we're going to, referring back to one of your first influences, the Dubliners and 7 Drunken Nights.
The name of this song is The 7 Drunken Nights, but we're only allowed to sing 5 of them, so here goes.
Oh, as I went home on Monday night, as drunk could be, I saw a horse outside the door, where my old horse should be. Well, I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me, who owns that horse outside the door, where my old horse should be? Ah, you're drunk, you silly old fool, still you cannot see, that's a lovely sow that me mother sent to me. Well, it's many a day I've travelled 100 miles or more, but a saddle on a sow sure I never saw before. And as I went home on Tuesday night, as drunk could be, I saw a coat behind the door, where my old coat should be. Well, I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me, who owns that coat behind the door, where my old coat should be? Ah, you're drunk, you silly old fool, still you cannot see, that's a woolen blanket that me mother sent to me. Well, it's many a day I've travelled 100 miles or more, but buttons in a blanket sure I never saw before. And as I went home on Wednesday night, as drunk could be, I saw a pipe upon the chair, where my old pipe should be. Well, I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me, who owns that pipe upon the chair, where my old pipe should be? Ah, you're drunk, you silly old fool, still you cannot see, that's a lovely tin whistle that me mother sent to me. Well, it's many a day I've travelled 100 miles or more, but tobacco in a tin whistle sure I never saw before. And as I went home on Thursday night, as drunk could be, I saw 2 boots beneath the bed, where my old boots should be. Well, I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me, who owns them boots beneath the bed, where my old boots should be? Ah, you're drunk, you silly old fool, still you cannot see, they're 2 lovely geranium pots me mother sent to me. Well, it's many a day I've travelled 100 miles or more, but laces in geranium pots I never saw before. And as I went home on Friday night, as drunk could be, I saw a head upon the bed, where my old head should be. Well, I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me, who owns that head upon the bed, where my old head should be? Ah, you're drunk, you silly old fool, still you cannot see, that's a baby boy that me mother sent to me. Well, it's many a day I've travelled 100 miles or more, but a baby boy with his whiskers on sure I never saw before.
7 Drunken Nights by the Dubliners. Ah, remember it well. A Drop of the Dubliners was the album that was taken from in 1969. And believe it or not, the song originates from a Scottish song way back in the 1770s. What time's that, Bob?
That's 6:10.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. And it was translated into German and spread into Hungary and Scandinavia.
Strangely, I understood the German version better than I understood the Irish version.
Well, it's the accent, I think.
It is, I think,
the accent, I think. Anyway, going back to your illustrious career as a folk Dijon, or something like
Dijon.
that. Dijon?
I couldn't cut the mustard these
You
days.
couldn't cut the mustard at all. Dion even. But there we are. You were in that in several bands, and we left it at was it the
Ragtag and Bobtail.
Ragtag and Bobtail.
Yeah.
What was your next one?
Towards the end of the 70s, we'd played at a number of times at the Bromsgrove Folk Club. Used to be in the Ewe and Lamb in those days. And they were about 6 strong, the old Fairfield. And one of their members left. As it turns out, it was a girl that left, and I was the only person they could find who would fit the skirt.
It must have been your figure, Bob.
It was,
really.
it was probably a little more sylph-like than it is these days, of course.
Indeed.
So I was asked to join Fairfield, and that would be, I think, there's been some dispute over it, but I think around about 1981 that I joined Fairfield and kept running Ragtag and Bobtail at the same time, because by that time we had started a folk club of our own at the Marlbrook in Bromsgrove. So I was in 2 bands and 2 folk clubs all at the same time.
So the seeds were sown.
Indeed.
Ah.
Never looked back.
And let's see, one of your choices here is Donovan. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, it is one of your choices, but the next choice I've got is Fiddler's Dram.
I wondered if you got to miss that one out.
No, how could I miss Fiddler's Dram out? Hey, the day trip to Bangor.
Indeed.
Yeah. One of your favourite tracks, and we're going to play that
yes.
right now.
Love it.
We had a lovely time the day we went to Bangor. A beautiful day, we had lunch on the way, and all for under £1, you know. But on the way back, I cuddled with Jack, and we opened a bottle of cider, singing a few of our favourite songs till wheels went around. Do you recall the thrill of it all as we walked along the seafront? Then on the sand we heard a brass band that played the diddly-bong. Ta-ra-ra. Elsie and me had 1 cup of tea, then we took a pedal of boat out, splashing away as we sailed round the bay and the wheels went around. Did we have a lovely time the day we went to Bangor? A beautiful day, we had lunch on the way, and all for under £1, you know. But on the way back I cuddled with Jack, and we opened a bottle of cider, singing a few of our favourite songs as the wheels went around. Wasn't it nice eating chocolate ice as we strolled around the fun fair? Then we ate eels on the big Ferris wheel as we sailed above the ground. But then we had to be quick 'cause Elsie felt sick, and we had to find somewhere to take her. I said to our lad, what made her feel bad was the wheel going round. Didn't we have a lovely time the day we went to Bangor? A beautiful day, we had lunch on the way, and all for under £1, you know. But on the way back I cuddled with Jack, and we opened a bottle of cider, singing a few of our favourite songs as the wheels went around. Elsie and me, we finished our tea and said goodbye to the seaside. Climbed on the bus, closer to her, so isn't it a shame to go? Wouldn't it be grand to have cash on demand and to live like this for always? Oh, it makes me feel ill when I think on the mill and the wheels going round. Didn't we have a lovely time the day we went to Bangor? A beautiful day, we had lunch on the way, all for under £1, you know. On the way back I cuddled with Jack, and we opened a bottle of cider, singing a few of our favourite songs as the wheels went around.
Fiddler's Dram there with Day Trip to Bangor. What a great track. I think that's been covered by so many people. It's actually off the album To See the Play, released in 1979. And it reached number 3 in the UK charts. Written by Debbie Cook, sung by Kathy Lesurf, not Maddie Pryor, apparently. I always thought it was Maddie Pryor, and I think a lot of other people did. But there we are, we sit corrected. And one of the founder members, there's a link here with the East of Eden track, Jig-a-Jig. He was the fiddler out of East of Eden, was a founder member. So there we are, Bob. What about
Indeed.
that?
Kathy LaSurf, there's a name I remember from the past.
There you go, you see. I told you.
She actually was, not only sang, she was also a barn dance caller. And I remember being at a barn dance somewhere in a folk festival somewhere in the Midlands area when she decided to come onto the floor to teach me how to do something properly. And virtually
your lucky night then, eh?
Well, not necessarily. She virtually dislocated my arm, throwing me around the room. But the wonderful Kathy LaSurf, tremendous fellow.
There we are. I see, wheels within wheels. I told you he's a Dijon mustard of folk music, didn't I? There we are. So let's talk a little about the next incarnation of Fairfield.
Okay, well, back in those days, there were, say, 6 of us in those. In fact, there was 6 officially and 7 unofficially, because my mate Terry, the banjo player, who I mentioned before, used to come along to the gigs to us and sit in. So he became a member of Fairfield, really speaking.
He was sort of your Rick Wakeman is to yes. So to speak, yeah.
Yes. He was my stand-in banjo player because I couldn't play the banjo. And that went on for a long, long time. We were out almost every weekend and playing in various village halls all around the Midlands area, and festivals and that sort of thing. And then gradually, slowly but surely, it became we lost 1 or 2 on the wayside, but we then got others in, and I think people do silly things like get married.
Oh dear!
And stop enjoying themselves.
Oh
and
dear!
things
They
like
grew
that.
up.
Grew up.
Oh,
yes,
dear.
I think that was the problem.
We can't have that.
And so eventually we ended up sometime during that period. A guy called John Connor moved into the Bromsgrove area, and
we all know and love John, don't we?
We do indeed. And he used to get up at the Bromsgrove Folk Club and do his own songs and that sort of thing. And eventually we asked him to join us as well. And at that time, I think the lineup was probably me and John McRawlins and Ralph Barton, of course, and probably some of the time Pete O'Connor. So we were out as a 5-piece in those days.
Yeah.
And then, again, well, unfortunately, Ralph passed away some 20-odd years ago now. And the band became, for the next 20 years, was John Connor, Mac Rawlins and myself. 2 instruments and 3 harmonies. And it was probably our most successful time, to my mind, musically our most successful time.
Well, John was a very good songwriter, and still is a very
still
good
a tremendous
songwriter,
good
course,
good
yes.
songwriter. Although he moved away from the area, he suddenly realised that 6 years previous his wife had gone down to live in Devon and thought, well, maybe I'd better join her, and so he moved away from the area for a time. But we are still very much in touch with John, obviously.
That's great. Right, and here's another one of your choices. It's a Donovan song, and it's called Catch the Wind.
In the chilly hours and minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm heart of your love and mine. To feel you all around me and to take your hand along the sand. But I may as well try and catch the wind. When sundown pales the sky, I want to hide a while behind your smile. And everywhere I'd look, your eyes would find. For me to love you now would be the sweetest thing. 'Twould make me sing. But I may as well try and catch the wind. When rain has hung the leaves with tears, I want you near to kill my fears, to help me to leave all my blues behind. For standing in your heart is where I want to be, and long to be. I bet I may as well try and catch the wind.
With your local news, I'm Natasha Amjad. An investigation has been launched after a car drove into a Stourbridge pub, injuring 4 people. A silver Volvo drove into Gigmill pub in Norton, injuring a man and 3 women at around 10 p.m. on Thursday evening. The driver of the Volvo is understood to have got out of the vehicle and fired shots from a BB gun, hitting a man in the leg, causing minor injury. He then drove the car towards the group standing on the steps outside the pub. A woman and the man, both in their 20s, suffered serious leg injuries and are being treated in hospital. Their injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. 2 other women are also being treated in hospital for less serious injuries. The driver then fled the scene and extensive inquiries are being carried out to locate him. Detective Sergeant Paul Jess from Brawley Hill CID is asking anyone who has any information or dashcam footage from the time of the incident who has not already spoken with officers to get in touch. Anyone with any information or footage can message officers via live chat on the West Midlands Police website or call 101. Visiting has resumed on inpatient wards at Russell Hall Hospital, with visitors needing to book online in advance. 1 visitor per patient per day is permitted for 45-minute slot. Visitors will be able to book up to 24 hours in advance, with overall numbers also limited to a maximum of 50% of the ward's patient numbers at any one time. Chief Nurse Mary Sexton is delighted to welcome back visitors and knows it has been a very difficult time for those unable to see loved ones during their hospital stay. Council bosses continue to progress plans for a state-of-the-art special school in the Dudley Borough. The £12 million special school is proposed for the site of the former Pensnet High School, which could provide education for 115 children and young people aged 3 to 19 years. Plans for the new school include an on-site nursery and assisted living block to support young people with independent living and full catering facilities. The new school will also provide state-of-the-art equipment, therapy rooms, a hydrotherapy pool, changing facilities, outdoor teaching and play areas, community group facilities, and 14 bespoke classrooms specifically designed to cater to children with additional needs. And new police dog squad are named after the England's favourite players. The 7-strong squad of Sprockers were born earlier this week, and the patriotic pups who are roaring on England at the Euros are named in honour of the 3 Lions' favourites. Chief Instructor Dave Hibbert from the Police Dog Unit knew how much the nation has been looking forward to the tournament and wanted to be part of the feel-good mood, as a fantastic social media response after asking people to name the litter in honour of past and present England players. The dogs are named Sterling, Jude, Lineker, Rio, Bronze, Keegan and Marcus, and are due to begin their police training later this year. And that's the latest. I'm Natasha Amjad.
Black Country Xtra.
Hello everybody and welcome to the second half of my show. And my guest in the studio this evening is the inimitable Mr. Bob Bignell. Inimitable. He was a Dion or Dijon mustard last half.
Used to be the inevitable Mr. Bob Bignell.
the inevitable Mr. Bob Bignell. And we're sort of halfway through your choices, Bob, on what you wanted to play as your fave tracks, as they say, when all the kids get down to it, like. Mm-hmm. And the next one is the Bonnie Gietzed Lass.
Uh-huh.
I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. So, what do you know about this one, Bob? Where did you see it?
This track takes me way, way back to the time that I used to sit in front of my radio at home with a microphone plugged into my reel-to-reel tape recorder, which I used to turn on at the start of the folk programme on whatever night it was, and then I went up the pub and got drunk while the folk programme was on. And because of hearing it on there, this came from the first ever folk album I ever bought, which was Nout's a Good'll Pass by Bob Fox and Stu Luckley, and this is my favourite track from that.
I'll warrant you've never seen me, lass, a name I cannot mention, for fear you'll go and tell her how I like her, so I do. Well, it's just for lads and lasses, for to whisper their affection. The bonniest lass in Gateshead's bonny face has bothered me. The bonniest lass in Gateshead's bonny face has bothered me. Well, the first time I saw her, I thought I didn't know her, but I'm sure I'd seen her face before. I couldn't think of where. Her blue eyes met mine in passing up the high street in the morning, and her look was so entrancing that me heart was my name. Her look was so entrancing that me heart was my name. Well, I didn't see her for a week, and then one night at the bridge end I stamped upon her gown, and the gathers that come away, now she told us I was clumsy, and I said that I was sorry, and I humbly begged her pardon. I was licked for what to say. I humbly begged her pardon. I was licked for what to say. So I walked on by her side, just as if I had a right to day. The conversation first was shy, but then it turned first class. We talked about the weather, and she mentioned that her father was a puddler down at Harks's, oh me bonny Gateshead lass. A puddler down at Harks's, oh me bonny Gateshead lass. She mentioned confidentially that our uncle was a grocer, and our mother's father's cousin was a fiddler on the shore. She talked so nice and friendly, and she looked both sweet and pleasant. I thought I'd never seen a lass so charming like before. I thought I'd never seen a lass so charming like before. She says her mother keeps a shop, she sells hot pies and candy, and her brother, he's a cobbler in the high part of the town. Now she was a dressmaker, and we got on so well together. I blessed her being so awkward as to stand upon her gown. I blessed her being so awkward as to stand upon her gown. Well, I made her laugh and slap me lug, talking lots of nonsense, but bless you, when you're caught and when there's Nout's a Good'll Pass, I asked her would she be me lass, and I'd take her out on a Sunday. And to my delight she says I might me bonny Gateshead lass. To my delight she says I might me bonny Gateshead lass.
Marvellous stuff. That was Bob Fox and Stu Luckley with, and it was off the album Nout's a Good'll Pass, and it was the Bonnie Gateshead Lass was the track. Written by Joe Wilson, and it was written in the 19th century, believe it or not. A comical song about acting quickly to get the girl. Unfortunately, Joe died at the young age of 33, my cheat notes tell me. But his album's still available. That's good going. What do you reckon to that then, Bob?
I reckon it's very good going, and in actual fact, Bob Fox still plays that on his live set, still playing that song. I don't think he was born in the 19th century, mind you.
No, I don't think he was.
He's an old fella.
He is an old fella. He's a very talented old fella, though, isn't he?
My goodness me, yes.
I mean, Bob is the songman in Warhorse. You can't make much of a claim bigger than that.
No, I think that, and I've been fortunate enough to go down to London to see him in the show twice. And actually, it's just a fantastic show, and Bob makes a really, really good job of what he does with it.
That's excellent. In a consummate professional
Indeed,
to the end. Yes.
indeed.
And your next track is London Danny, right?
Yes.
I said that correctly, didn't I, this
You
time?
did.
Right, thank goodness for that. London Danny by Jez Lowe, and off the album Bad Penny. Where did you pick this one up from?
Jez has probably been the most booked person for Bromsgrove Folk Club and Bromsgrove Folk Festival over the years, either with him on his own solo or with the Bad Pennies. And and he has been on our virtual programme as well that goes out on a Thursday night. And every time we have Jez on, Cynthia, my good lady wife, requests this song because it's her favourite. And so I couldn't pass up this opportunity because I wouldn't be able to go home unless you played it.
Big trouble.
I know.
Big trouble in Little Bromsgrove, yes?
Big trouble.
Well,
Lady Bromsgrove, she who must be obeyed.
Well, this one's a special play for Cynthia, that's Mr. Bob's wife, and all the folks at Bromsgrove.
London Danny, you're a real bad penny, the one man time has taught me I should fear. 'Cause her you left behind, she said she would be mine. So why do you have to come and show your face round here? 'Cause she always said that time would make it right, and now I always hear her sighing in the night. And don't think I don't know, if you asked her then she'd go. But please, now don't you take her from me, London Danny. Well, I've learned to listen for your name round town when people talk of your success in city life. But I could never tell if she heard them talk as well, and ruled the day she ever was a poor man's wife. But she always said that time would make it right, and now I always hear her sighing in the night. And don't think I don't know, if you asked her then she'd go. But please, now don't you take her from me, London Danny. Well, me hands are black while yours are clean and clever, and there's ways, you know, to turn her pretty head. When it's all that I can do, when me working days through, to let her heart beat me to sleep at night in bed. But she always said that time would make it right, and now I always hear her sighing in the night. And don't think I don't know, if you asked her then she'd go. But please, now don't you take her from me, London Danny. Taught me I should fear, 'cause her you left behind, she said she would be mine. So why do you have to come and show your face round here? 'Cause she always said that time would make it right, and now I always hear her sighing in the night. And don't think I don't know, if you asked her then she'd go. But please, now don't you take her from me, London Danny.
was London Danny. A beautiful track, but very sad, but never mind. On a much lighter note, what about the festival, Bob? What are we going to talk about there?
Well, we've decided to go for it. We've bitten the bullet and decided that whatever gets announced on the 21st of June or the 14th of June, ready for the 21st of June, we're going to go ahead with the festival over the weekend, long weekend of the 8th, the 11th of July. We have provisions in place in case there's going to be any more social distancing and all that sort of thing. Oh. And it will happen in a field in Stoke Prior in Bromsgrove for 4 days.
This is the Bromsgrove Folk Festival, of course, the much loved and well attended and extremely local affair, really, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. We have the motto of bigger, no, we don't. It's the other way round. We have the motto of better, not bigger, and it can't be any bigger because we've only got one field.
That's right.
And so we are tied to what we can actually put into it. Got a great lineup again for this year.
Who's on then, Bob?
Well, the aforementioned Mr. Jeslow will be there again, and also two of the local groups who've become favourites over the years, the Lost Notes, who you know very well.
We know the Lost Notes.
And the brilliant Mad Jocks and Englishmen.
Excellent.
Will also be appearing for us alongside the Gigantics, Dave Gibb, Keith Donnelly, Sylvington, Anthony John Clark, Pete Abbott, Stitherham, Tosh Hewitt, Ewins and Fairfield, and a couple of others that I haven't actually booked yet.
Fairfield. Fly the flag for Fairfield.
Well,
that's what I say.
Yes, we're taking a step back, and Fairfield on the Friday night opening the concert will be the last, the previous Fairfield. So, young Mr. John Connor, myself, and Mac Rawlins will be reprising 20 years together on to open the show on the Friday night.
So will you be doing a selection of your greatest hits then,
right? In particular, our Christmas hit.
Your Christmas hit, right? There we are then.
I can't remember what that was now, but yeah, we'll be doing much loved favourites from over the years, including a lot of the songs that John wrote, of course.
Yeah, well, John, I have to say, is an excellent songwriter.
Tremendous songwriter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you want to give us those dates again, Bob, so our listeners know?
It is over the 8th to the 11th of July. It'll be held at the Bowling Green Inn, Stoke Prior, in Bromsgrove. And if you go to www.bromsgrovefolkclub.co.uk, you can find all the details of the artists and how to buy tickets and everything there.
That's excellent. Right, we're going to play a next track is a comedy track by Roaring Jelly. Do you remember those, Bob?
My goodness me, I remember them very, very well.
Roaring Jelly, they were great.
Not just comedic, but anarchic as well.
They were of their own ilk, shall we say?
Certainly I saw nothing like them before, and I've seen nothing like them since.
I do believe the Baronites even tried to do one or two imitations of them, but I'm not sure they pulled it off properly.
No, I'm sure they didn't.
Anybody who knows what we're talking about, Roaring Jelly were around in the 70s, I suppose it was, wasn't it?
It was the first group that I got Don't Spend Christmas in Australia from all those years ago.
A very famous song.
Indeed.
Yeah? This isn't Christmas in Australia.
No.
This is Valerie Wilkins. Now, Valerie Wilkins, as you know, is a very, very funny song about how kids grow up, and it's brilliant. Our mate at the Woodman, our fellow Woodmanite, Dick Woodhouse, he plays a very good version of this. It's absolutely hilarious. Take a listen.
One and only Golden Gum. Come on. Right, yeah, now sing nice and clearly into that mic there, and ignore the lower mics because they just pick up smells. Okay? Right, you've been for a wee, have you? Right, here we go then. 2, 3, 4. Wait for the intro.
Valerie Wilkins comes to play, but she is always the leader. She always gets her own way, a rotten, selfish bleeder. And the reason she bosses me, I'm 3'7", she's 4'3", and besides she's 3 months older than me. So I do what I'm told, 'cause she is 6 1/4, and I'm just 6 years old. Who's that knocking on my door? Big Barry Wilkins, and she lives next door. Curses, curses, she wants to play at nurses, and I want to play at war. They keep laughing at me.
Laugh at anything, this lot would.
When she's in a good mood, she lets me play at cowboys. But today she's got a nurse's apron on, so I'll have to play at hospitals now, boys. There's no fun for me in store. She makes me lie in bed for an hour or more and pretends I've got pneumonia when I've only got a cold. 'Cause she is 6 1/4, and I'm just 6 years old.
Oh.
Who's that knocking on my door? Big Valerie Wilkins, and she lives next door.
You want to play now? Just come on.
And I want to play at war.
He's got it. Come on, you can do it. Put yourself together.
Then one day at tea time, I said I want to play with me rifle. But Valerie threw a tantrum. She spat straight in me trifle. And blimey, she screamed at me. She pulled my hair and she kicked me on the knee, causing me to spill my tea all on me sausage rolls. 'Cause she is 6 ooh.
It's only a song, mate. Don't get carried away. It's only a song. All right? Come on, then.
Who's that knocking on my door? Big Barry Wilkins, and she lives next door. Curses, curses, she wants to play. And I want to play at war.
Yeah, right, good. Okay. Final spasm. Key change.
3 months later I realised I was 6 1/4. I caught up with Valerie, could hardly hold me water. And I was happy as could be, but when I told me mum, she explained to me, you can never be as old as Valerie. No, and she began to laugh. 'Cause I was 6 1/4, yeah, but she was 6 1/2.
That's not
Who's that knocking on? Big Barry Wilkins, and she lives Big Barry! Right, what's she then?
What's going on at the Woodman, Des?
Well, Buzz, what's going on at the Woodman is this year was our 50th anniversary. Yes, we started in 1971 and we're still going. That's a great achievement by anybody's measure. So, what I thought we'd do now is play a few excerpts from the actual Woodman birthday party. That's the Woodman Virtual Folk Club. Here we go.
It's great to have Steve Tilston here for our 50th birthday celebrations. He's brought a brand new song with him, Daylight Rising. Let's have a huge Woodman welcome for Steve Tilston.
Greetings, Woodman Folk Club. Congratulations on 50 years. long may you run, and thanks for all the support over those years. I'll play you something from my latest record. Actually, it's 50 years since my first one was released, but anyway, this is something more recent. I'll do a snippet of a song called Daylight Rising. And once again, hope you're having a good night. Daylight will come rising, in the long night, the last goodbye. Daylight will come rising, and an ill wind lay down to die. Get up out of bed and open wide the windows. Get up out of bed and weave across the floor. Shadows, take those aching bones outside that door. Daylight will come rising, in the long night, the last goodbye. Daylight will come rising, Thanks a lot. Hope you have a good night.
What a wonderful song, full of hope. Just what we need. Once more, please, for Steve Tilston. I was hoping Granny's Attic would be coming along, and here they are with a couple of tunes for us. Please welcome Granny's Attic.
Hello, Granny's Attic here. Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of your 50th anniversary special here at the Woodman Folk Club. George, Lewis and I have put together a little something special to hopefully get you into the festive mood.
Hiya, it's really nice to be able to wish the Woodman a happy 50th birthday. It's pretty impressive on your part. And we love the Woodman. It's, you know, such a great folk club. And I think we last played for you in 2018, and the first time we played for you was 2016, which is, you know, getting on 5 years ago. So yeah, we're looking forward to that day when we can come back and play for you again. But thank you so much for, you know, well, we kind of feel like you're, you know, friends and family, really. So thanks for all you've done to support us, and here's to the next 50 years. So yeah, happy birthday, all of you.
Anyway, so we're going to play you a tune set from our latest album, Wheels of the World, which we released back in 2019. The first tune is traditional, and it's called Riddle's Hornpipe, and the second one is one of mine called The Circus. Hope you enjoy it.
1, 2, 3.
Great job. Well played. Once again, please, the Granny's Attic. One of my favourite songs from the Northeast is Sally Wheatley, and tonight it is being performed for us by none other than Bob Fox. Please welcome Bob Fox to the stage.
Hello, and a very happy 50th birthday to the Woodman Folk Club. I've been coming to the folk club for a long time, since the mid-70s, when it was in the Woodman pub in Kings Winford. I played in a duo at the time with Stu Luckley, and I've been back to the club many, many times for some great nights. So huge congratulations to everybody that's kept it going for that length of time, all the organisers past and present, all the support team, and of course all the audience, who've been very loyal. Here's a song. It's called Sally Wheatley. All the very best.
Now I'm most depressed and sad, when I once was blithe and glad. I could trip about the town both trim and neatly. I was happy night and morn, but of all such joys I'm shorn, since I fell so deep in love with Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. No, I've never seen such a lass, and I know she liked the glass. She could toss a pot of whiskey over sweetly. Well, it's right to take your drop, if you know just when to stop. That was just the very way with Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. And how I felt I didn't know, the first time I Sally saw, in a threesome reel she hopped about so lately. Well, I might have had a chance if I'd asked her up to dance, but I was shy to speak to Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. And so, as often is the case, you'll find others in your place, if you didn't shove a heed and fettle Wheatley. For it scarcely turned me back when there was Mr. Black. He was jigging round the room with Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. Well, he must have made it right when he said I am that night. After work, dressed up, he goes to see her neatly. Now there's great danger in delay, or I wouldn't be sad today. And if I had a heart, I'd break it for Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. So I'm most depressed and sad, when I once was blithe and glad. I could trip about the town both trim and neatly. I was happy night and morn, but of all such joys I'm shorn, since I fell so deep in love with Sally Wheatley. And oh dear me, what am I gonna do? Sally's taken me heart away completely, and I'll never get it back, 'cause she gans with Mr. Black, and they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley. Aye, they say he's gone to marry Sally Wheatley.
Without doubt, this is the best version of the song I know. A big thank you to Bob Bignell. Tonight, Mick Bissiker is performing Alan Hull's Winter Song with Chris Radley on bass. It's a song for the season with wonderfully reflective lyrics. Please welcome Mick and Chris to the stage.
Good evening, the Woodman Folk Club. Happy 50th anniversary. What a remarkable feat that 50 years of any folk club to survive is fantastic. So well done, Deb and Derry, for running it so well, and brilliant to keep it going during this pandemic. Online folk clubs, fantastic. I did my first gig, I think, at the Woodman Folk Club, one of my first gigs at the Woodman, back in about 1980, over 40 years ago now. And it's been a great club. I did it with a band called Falstaff, some of you may remember. It split up because Roger Huckle, the fiddle player, went and joined Dex's Midnight Runners and did the Come On Eileen album. Quite hard to compete with him after that. So, anyway, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy 50th to the Woodman, happy birthday to you. Have a great evening. See you again. All the best. Bye.
and your rain splattered windows make you decide to stay in bed. Do you spare a thought for the homeless tramp who wishes he was dead? Or do you pull your bedclothes higher, dream of summertime instead? When winter comes howling in, and the creeping cold has fingers that caress without your permission, and the mystic crystal snowdrops only aggravate the condition. Do you spare a thought for the gypsy who has no secure position? 'Cause he's turned and spurned from village and town at the magistrate's decision. When winter comes howling in, turkey is in the oven, and all your Christmas presents are bought. Santa, he's in a module, he's now some American astronaut. Do you spare a thought for Jesus? He had nothing but his thoughts, 'cause he was busted just for talking and befriending the wrong sort. When winter comes howling in, oh, when winter comes howling in, when winter comes howling in.
That was a song to make you think, expertly performed by Mick Bissica and Chris Radley.
And that was an excerpt from our live, so to speak, virtual live show anyway. And that was our most excellent MC, Mr. MC Bryn Phillips, who I'd love to thank for that little excerpt. He doesn't know he's on the show, but he won't do until he listens to it. So he's got to listen to it now. So tell me what you think, Bryn. Right, our next track is the most excellent June Tabor with Oyster Band. That's Oyster Band, not...
The Oyster Band.
No, definitely not. Oyster Band.
I got into a lot of trouble for introducing them as the Oyster Band a few years ago.
Whoops. And Bob's a professional, so we've got to watch our P's and Q's now. This one's called The Dark End of the Streak. Streak? The Dark End of the Street? That could be a completely different track there.
I'm not taking my clothes off for you or anybody, dear boy.
Thank God for that. Dark End of the Street there by June Tabor and Oyster Band. That's Oyster Band. Right, that was written by Dan Penn and Chips Moman. Let's have another portion of Dan and Chips, please. What do you reckon there, Bob? That was all right. Did you see what I did there?
I did. Beats Haddock anyway, doesn't
Well,
it?
it does indeed. All good for that matter. The next track...
the street.
Sorry about that. The next track is Moonlight Shadow. It's one of my favourite Mike Oldfield tracks, and it's actually
hiding in shadows we don't
and it's off the album Crises, I believe.
Living in darkness to hide our
English in CSC.
You and me.
And it was released in 1983. It made number 1 in Europe, but number 4 in the UK.
You know the time is gonna take its
and Maggie's debut album,
have to pay
Echo, was
for the
released in
love
1992. She also sang with Mike
It's a sin and we know
bass
it's
player he was,
wrong.
and Nick Mason out
but our
of the Pink
love
Floyd.
keeps coming on strong.
Or is it just the Pink?
Steal away to the dark end of the street. They're gonna find us. They're gonna find us. They're gonna find us out someday. You and me at the dark end of the street.
Far away on the other side, he was caught in the middle
Moonlight Shadow there by Mike Oldfield and Maggie Riley. What a wonderful track. Did you like that one, Bob?
Excellent,
Oh.
excellent. I never really associated Mike Oldfield with folk music, but
Well, you see, these are...
what is folk music?
Oh, not that question. we know the answer to life, the universe and everything. That's 42.
Exactly, but we don't know what folk music is.
No, we don't. And we're not going to start that one, are we? Not until this... We want to get out the studio
We do.
before Christmas.
We do.
Yeah. Anyway, that was, as I said, Moonlight Shadow. The next track is another dubious link to folk music, maybe, Bob. It's the marvellous Jethro Tull.
With yet another brilliant bass player.
Yes, our Mr. Dave Pegg.
Our own Dave Pegg, who is well into his folk music.
He certainly is. So he qualifies. He made Jethro Tull folk, let's face it.
I think so.
Yes.
That and standing on one leg.
And of course, playing the flute is always in a folk band, isn't it?
I suppose so.
That's Celtic.
Pardon?
No, I said Celtic.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Living in the Past is the track. It was released in 1969. So here we go, Jethro Tull. The most excellent Jethro Tull there with the track Living in the Past. What do you think of that one then, Bob?
Absolutely brilliant track. It takes me right the way back to my youth.
That's a long bus journey. You wouldn't want to pay the ticket on that one, would you, eh?
I wouldn't want to meet up with my youth again anyway.
Yeah, that would be like a quantum interrupt, wouldn't it?
Probably would.
See, I watched Doctor Who, me. Right, that was Living in the Past, as I said. From the double album, Living in the Past, which most of their singles were taken from at the time, curiously labelled as progressive rock. I think that might be one for my mate Busby. What do you reckon, Bob? Progressive rock?
It's music, man. It's all good stuff.
I think you're right. We'll call it progressive folk rock. There we are. Let's give the genre some oomph.
Prog rock.
Prog rock. Stand on one leg, play the flute, away you go. Right, now, I'd like to thank Bob for being my virgin guest. Why do you snigger?
Virgin on the ridiculous.
Snigger ye not. You are my virgin guest.
Yes. I am indeed, and I'd like to thank you for giving me the honour of being your virgin guest.
It is. The honour is all mine, Bob. The honour is all mine.
Dear me.
Say good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob. Good night. Right, the next track is The Ballad of Cursed Anna, and it's by Jonathan Kelly, off the album Twice Around the Houses, released in 1972, my very favourite track this, covered by Nothing to Prove, amongst others, and Paul Downs, I think, covered this one.
I've heard of Paul Downs.
Yes, well, there you are then. It must be true.
Never heard of Nothing to Prove.
Anyway, we've said good night once.
Oh, we have.
Bye.
Bye.
Here we are. This is The Ballad of Cursed Anna.
I was walking homeward in the early morning light, leaving far behind the prison where I'd spent the night, with no idea what I'd done or why they'd punished me, but feeling nonetheless relieved and grateful to be free. Path led to a woodland far behind a rusted gate. I knew it was a shortcut if I kept my walking straight. But then like out of nowhere this old wizened man appeared, holding high his one hand while the other stroked his beard. Beware the cursed Anna stare, this warning did he bring, that no one makes it through this world, coming out as they went in. But a change is what I'm looking for, I told the sad old man, and bidding him a last farewell into the wood I ran. Soon I came to a river where I stopped to bathe my feet, and that was when I smelled her perfume, delicate and sweet. I stood up and turned around, and there in front of me stood a beautiful woman who simply stared at me. And then I knew it was all true what the old man had advised. You must be Anna, I said as I looked into her eyes. Beware the cursed Anna stare, this warning did he bring, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went in. Came together in a passionate embrace, I felt my body weaken and my heart begin to race. And when at last the kissing stopped, I saw to my alarm this woman now had changed into a young girl in my arms. I heard her childish laughter, saw her vanish through the trees. I turned back to the river, my reflection for to see. And there inside the water I saw exactly as I'd feared. To my horror I turned into an old man with a beard. Beware the cursed Anna stare, this warning did he bring, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went in. 7 long years I've waited by this gate, wishing I could die, but that that can only happen if some other young man comes by. First I know I must warn him to go some other way, but hope that like most men of that age, he won't believe what old men say. To beware the cursed and a snare, this warning do I bring, for no one makes it through this wood coming out as they went in.